One of the challenges I faced when I was chief executive of Cookson Group, we had factories in over 30 countries. Most of my staff, we employed some 30,000 people. Most didn't have English as a first language. And many of the companies that were part of the Cookson Group were acquired over time, began life as a local family-owned business maybe, and eventually became part of this larger global organization. So one of the things that I wrestled with is, how do we create a culture that is ours? How do we send a message out about what we stand for and what we're about? What's the driving force of this organization? What is our mission? How do we do it in language that people understand? We were headquartered in London, a lot of business in the US, and so easy to talk to people in the factories in those two countries. Much more difficult elsewhere. And so we did all the things that most businesses do. We wrote things up and put them on plaques on the wall. We sent out information. We had newsletters talking about big events that happened in the organization, companies we acquired, big contracts that we won, that kind of thing. And I think to an extent those helped, and they're important. But wrestling with, how do we send out this notion of what we stand for? And so what we started to do then, and I've seen other companies do it even more successfully, is to begin to celebrate different things. And so one of the things that we began to celebrate was employee volunteering and employee involvement in civic and community things. Everybody has a local community where they live. It's not mine. So seeing me out doing things in London may or may not be interesting. But the idea that the chief executive of the organization would go out and help build a house, well, that was kind of an intriguing concept. And the next newsletter, we celebrated another organization in some far-flung part of the empire doing something similar. Again, sending the message that we think being a good neighbor is part of being an effective organization. And so as I began to try to find ways that I could have a common language throughout all of these different cultures and languages and age groups and economic strata, what could I talk about that people would understand and be interested in? And send a message that said, yes, we're focused on generating profits and delivering quality products to our customers, but we're also a group of human beings that cares about what we do and who we do it with and how effective we are in the community and how the community sees us. And it was a powerful message for me because those little things, telling people here about what I do on my off time, seemed to be more powerful and maybe even more credible to them than what I did in my day job and what I did sitting in a boardroom, which truthfully is pretty boring. So it was that. So how do we tell the stories of what's happening around colleagues, and how do we celebrate examples of employee volunteering or whatever else it happens to be? Exciting things that people have done, and how do we pull that out? And how do we begin to say that's the kind of organization that we stand for? That's where we're going. I mean, as I think about the business case of all of these things, why do you do employee volunteering, for example? There are a lot of reasons. Part of it is your brand, and how do you want people to see you out there? We were in businesses that had smokestacks that inevitably had waste. So not only did we have to think in terms of how we manage that waste effectively, but also how do the neighbors see us? And what if we had a mistake? What if we had a leak? What if we had a problem? Inevitably they happen. So how do we build up a little goodwill with the community? So it was a sensible thing to do. But I also found in this employee volunteering stuff that we were doing that people love it. The people that I gave the opportunity to do it enjoyed it. People liked hearing about what others did. So finding ways to use these employee volunteering programs we did then to communicate what our message was, but also to reinforce that this is a good place to work. And these are people that you're working with that you like. And we found that it really did have a difference in people's attitude. To me, it was all about good business. It was good for our markets, it was good for our people, and therefore it was good for our business.